𝐁𝐮𝐫𝐞𝐚.
Well, looky here. What do you know? What do you know? It's a Tuesday. Welcome into the show in the Bureau, live on a Tuesday. Who wants to talk football today? Anybody? Okay, hands up. I see them. You got your hands in the back? Y'all? Okay, everybody wants to talk football, so we'll do that. Starting right now. I'm Matt. Beaver is here. Welcome in on this Tuesday. Lots of ways for you to be a part of the show, and if you're listening, you've been here before, you know that. You can comment on the live stream, YouTube, Facebook, X, formerly Twitter. Feel free to drop a comment there on the live stream. You can also text me on the Country Pleasin' text line, Country Pleasin' sausage on grocery store shelves all around the Southeast. It's the best. Bill butt dialed me this morning with his phone. Yep, Bill from the radio station. Phone was ringing. I didn't get it. I didn't see it. But then I saw, okay, who did I miss? It was Bill. Then he's leaving me a voicemail. And then immediately I get a text from him that says, sorry, I butt dialed you. And I said, oh, it's no worries. And then he asked me, while he had my attention, he wanted to ask me something. He said, what kind of sausage did you eat this morning? I said, the original. And he said, I can smell it from Jackson. So text me on the Country Pleasin' text line, the number 885-3776. Got the phone line open to you. Call me on the Davini phone, Davini Equipment, Madison and in Jackson. The number to call, 897-1059. Hey, how about the Chiefs? Yes, sir. Chiefs. They remain unblemished on the young season. Chiefs move to 5-0. And the Saints beat up on the Cowboys and have not scratched since then. And what'd you think about the uniforms last night for the Saints? All of that and more coming up. Get it on in here. Let's see. Over here on X, watching formerly on Twitter, Tammy said, saw your C Spire commercial, gave us a thumbs up. Thank you. Yep, Wyatt's got featured in a C Spire commercial that's running on TV right now. It's a cool experience. And thanks for all the mentions. And really appreciate C Spire, the #1 network in Mississippi. Danny says, Hail State, Matt from Ringgold, Georgia. He says, how big of a dogfight is going to be on Saturday? I just hope it is a dogfight, right? I hope it is. Like that, go like you did at Texas. Go in there and throw up a fight and maybe make it interesting. That's what I hope. Sven says, well, the JUCO edge rusher Xavier Hardy made his pledge for the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Really? Okay. 24/7 Sports names Hardy the best overall JUCO recruit in the nation. And then says, guys, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Well, that is good news. Edge rusher. They need all the edge rush they can get their hands on. You know, and JUCO and portal is going to be a big part of it for State. Hey, let me see how Beav's doing. Really. And Beaver's friend, Saints Bro. Beav.
Matt Wyatt.
Happy Tuesday to you, sir.
You as well.
So a couple things happened last night. One is you were made aware that Kroger has its own line of junk food, pastry, sweet treats.
Yeah, you broke that on me. I didn't even know what you were talking about.
I was in Kroger with the homecoming queen. You know, because I sent you that picture of, it was a box of Little Debbie apple pies. Did you know that such a thing existed?
Nope.
Yeah, me neither. I didn't have any clue. I'm looking up the picture right here. Hold on. Mini apple fruit pies. Not mini, Beaver, as in M-A-N-Y. Mini as in small, M-I-N-I. Apple fruit pies. Okay, and then I sent you that. Not long after that, Beaver, I turned the corner, and there's a whole kiosk, and it's like Little Debbie stuff and apple pies and things like this too, and it's all Kroger brand. And I'm thinking we need to try that out.
Why have I never seen this? I go to Kroger's an obscene amount. I can't remember ever seeing a Kroger, snack cake.
Beaver, do they know you by name in there?
No, surprisingly
okay.
not.
Okay. So they're just not paying attention. They should know you by name is basically what you're saying there. Hey, get this, Beav. True story. So you know how I commented yesterday that I had posted on social media that I was sick and tired of people like More Bully texting me, telling me I had a face for radio and not TV after seeing it on that commercial? This nice old lady in Kroger last night walks up to me and Annabeth and says, "Hey, I like the commercial." And she looks right at me and she says, "You do have a face for TV." Made me feel so good.
Hey, you know what? I got something that maybe by comparison, it'll make you feel a little bit better.
Okay.
Along those lines.
All right.
So, actually, just yesterday, little C, she saw that commercial, and her only comment was, "Oh, I didn't know that's what he looked like." Now, this is why I say by comparison, this might make you feel a little better, because it was quasi recently, a few months back, she mentioned to me randomly one day, she says, "Hey, I saw Rob J on the news earlier today. This is the first time I've seen him in a long time, and man, he's gotten old." So at least you didn't get that. At least you didn't get he's gotten old.
So
she just said, "I didn't know that's what he looked like," regarding you.
Okay. So whether I exceeded her expectations or fell short of them, one thing we can confirm is a 50-50 chance that I exceeded them. Because one thing we do know is I did not nail her expectations of what I would look like. And she didn't call me old, is what you're saying. Okay. That's good.
And then she tried to backtrack. I told her, I was like, "Well, that was talking about Rob J." It's like, "Well, that's kind of mean." And she goes, "No, I didn't mean it like that. I'm just saying I haven't seen him in so long."
I don't mean that in a bad way. That's good. Okay, so we discovered that. Okay, there's different tasty treats out there that we weren't necessarily aware of. And then the other thing we learned is that the Saints, am I right, Beef, have now lost 3 in a row?
Yes, indeed.
Good. Okay, so they were 2-0. They lost that Eagles game by 3 points at home. Saints, bro, you told me it was like, look, whatever. It's not a big deal. It's a long season. This is the NFL. You can be 8-8 and go to the playoffs. No big deal. I'm not worrying. Okay, then he, according to you, he backed that up again after the next loss to put him at 2-2 when they lost to the Falcons in the division. He still wasn't worried. Now, this is the defending Super Bowl champs, but they go there, they lose it. How hurt is Derek Carr? I didn't see the injury, so I don't know how hurt he is or isn't. He didn't come back in the game, though, did he?
Nope.
What did it look like to you? Did you see it, Beef? I didn't see what the injury was.
I didn't see it either, but they say it's an oblique. And Carr was describing it as, he says it didn't even happen on a hit. It just happened while he was throwing.
Okay. Well, you want a sign that you're getting older, Beaver? Nobody has to touch you and you get injured. It's like that comedian Billy Gardell said, you know you're getting old when you can injure yourself sleeping. You wake up in the morning and you go, "What is wrong with my neck? I can't move." Injure yourself sleeping. So maybe Carr's getting older. How is he now? How's Saints Bro after 3 losses in a row?
Well, I got to imagine he's quite crushed. And you know what? He deserves it, because Sunday I'm sitting there at his house and I hear him on the phone with his brother, and he makes I can hear them. They're talking about Oh, yeah. I hear him say, I'm trying to remember the first part of this, because I guess his brother started talking about it. The first thing I hear Saints Bro say is, oh, yeah, it's time for the Chiefs to lose. And then his brother says something else, and the next statement out of Saints Bro's mouth was, yeah, bro, those Chiefs are paper tigers.
What?
Oh, okay. Yep. I got quite, I held my tongue because, I'm not going to talk trash. He is my best friend, but I'm enjoying his Saints misery right now because of things like that. Yeah, they're paper tigers. Really? Mm-hmm. Because they were undefeated. And sure, Patrick Mahomes, not looking like the classic Patrick Mahomes, but they were 4-0 coming in.
Right.
I don't know how you could say they're paper tigers. And here we are, they're 5-0 now. How about those paper tigers?
Well, yeah, that was a little wishful thinking there, saying the Chiefs were paper tigers. Because you know what? Like I thought they had a neat interview before the game with Chris Jones. Well, I say before the game. They recorded it. They aired it before the game with Chris Jones. And a good part of that interview, Beaver, was about how, for lack of a better word, how disrespected the Chiefs' defense is because the offense gets all the attention, right? And Chris Jones was like, and that's fine with us. He goes, look, we got an offensive head coach. We got the MVP at quarterback. At a Hall of Fame tight end. He's naming it, and he says everybody pays attention. But the Chiefs' defense has been really good, consistently good. And even a primary reason is because the constant presence of Chris Jones in the middle of that defensive front. So that's the thing about, so even though the Chiefs offensively lose a weapon or two, it just never seems to matter. Andy Reid is a genius at figuring out, okay, who do we have and what can they do, and let's figure out a way to do that. He's a genius at adjustments there, like during the week leading up to games and adjusting and absorbing injuries and stuff. And maybe that's experience, he's been through it, but it helps when you have currently the greatest quarterback of his generation. And no joke. I kind of said it, but it wasn't joking. But when the Chiefs played Brady, beat Brady there at the end of things, you could see it sort of being this passing of the torch. And the Chiefs now are consistently, week after week, year after year, doing to opponents what Tom Brady did to opponents for all those years. And that is just drive you absolutely crazy that in some ways you could even outplay them, and it still didn't matter because they were going to make one or two more defensive plays at the end, and Mahomes was going to find a way to kick have a winning field goal drive with 15 seconds left and that sort of thing. Just continue to find ways to beat you, and that's what they do. The Saints. Hey, Beeve, what'd you think of the Saints wearing the black helmets last night?
I liked those.
Okay. I didn't mind them one bit. You know why I didn't mind them one bit? Is because when they wear the all whites, the white pants and the white jerseys with the gold numbers, it looks so good it almost doesn't matter what helmet you put with it. So I didn't mind it. It's just that when the Saints wear their normal gold helmets with that all white uniform, it's one of the best looks in all of sports. And I kind of hated that I missed it last night. But I didn't mind the black helmets, change it up a little bit.
See, I like the helmets. I am not I'd say 9 out of 10 times. I'm not a fan, no matter where it is, baseball, football, whatever, of all white uniforms. They just look so plain.
Yeah. See, to me, I understand that. I'm with you. I can see where you're coming from, but I'm just saying that gold and black trim that they throw on those white uniforms with the Saints, and they have the gold helmet, is special. I think
now that does change those particular ones up a little bit. I like those a little better than the usual just people stacking white on white.
Like when the Dolphins wear all white, or when the Cardinals wear all white. I'm with you. I don't like it.
Yeah,
I'm with you. Or the Giants. See, the Giants, to me, they ought to always have on gray pants, even if they are on the road wearing white jerseys. Okay, did y'all tune in today? 15 minutes into the show to hear me and Beaver having a uniform discussion? No, you didn't? Surprised at that. Not really. All right, here we go. Coming to you. First up on the Country Pleasin' text line, Country Pleasin' Sausage. The number to text the show is 885-3776. Denzel says, Beaver has had 2 days to digest the inexcusable loss to the Cardinals. How is he feeling about the Niners? Well, let's just ask him, Beaver. 24-23, 1-point loss, gave up 11 points in the fourth quarter to the Cardinals, and the 49ers lose to fall to 2-3. How are you feeling now 2 days later?
I don't feel good about that at all. The defense, downright suspect, missing tackle after tackle after tackle. You need a new cornerback out there, and Brock Purdy probably needs to be able to stop running around more than Patrick Mahomes. Brock Purdy's running around like we see Patrick Mahomes usually doing. You know what I speak of? Have you seen these plays the last couple weeks? He's holding the ball. He's running around for 11 seconds to gain 4 yards. That should not be happening.
Yeah, when they are, and certainly recent years when they were successful, one of his best quality was, the play was on schedule all the time. There weren't a lot of breakdowns and scrambling around, and a lot of that's because of their run game was so good to go along with it, and so they don't have McCaffrey, and so he's probably feeling different about the whole thing too. But that's a weird deal now because coming into the year, I know it's early. What are you, 5 games in? But they're a game below 500, and coming into the year, if you had asked me, I'd have been like, no question. The 49ers are the class of that division. But they're sitting there right now. They're kind of like where the Saints are. A game back, but it feels like a lot more than that for some reason in their division. Seattle is 3-2. And didn't somebody beat them? Who beat Seattle this week? Somebody did. Of course, Arizona jumped. Giants. That's it. The Giants. So Seattle leads that division, NFC West at 3-2. Then you got the Cardinals and 49ers both at 2-3. Rams at the bottom at 1-4. Seems appropriate too because the Rams have the worst uniforms in all of pro sports now. They used to have the best. AFC South. So that's why I said the Saints are a game back of both Tampa and Atlanta, and the Saints are getting ready to play Tampa this coming week. Are they off first? No, I don't think so. Carolina's at the bottom. So the Saints go below 500 now with the loss last night. They're 2-3. How about the Vikings at 5-0? Sam Darnold's got them at 5-0. Lions in that division are 2 games back. Is it 2? No, it's 2.5. They're 2.5 games back because they haven't played as much. Packers are 3-2. Bears are 3-2. How about the Bears being a game above 500 after 5 with a rookie quarterback? So the Chiefs and the Vikings are the only 2 undefeated teams. Oh, and the other one you didn't have on your bingo card before the season is 5 games into the year, the Washington Commanders being in the lead of the NFC East, 1 game in front of the Cowboys, who are 3-2. You got the Eagles at 2-2, and then you got the Giants at 2-3. I mean, so, nobody's separating. They're all going to play each other. A long way to go. But, man, Jaden Daniels has been so good early on. And nobody's had them leading the division, but there they are. Dan Quinn, Jaden Daniels, seems like a match. Mentioned the Chiefs 5-0. That division is not really all that bad. And, Denver's a little better. Bo Nix, 3 touchdowns. He threw 2 and ran 1. Hey, speaking of uniforms, another one. See, the Broncos wore their 80s uniforms on Sunday. One of the best pro sports uniforms ever. Why would you get rid of one of the best to run around out there and play in one of the worst, which is what their normal uniforms are. All right, AFC South, Texans are at 4-1. Told you. I could see it. Of course, I mean, it's like not out of a limb, and they've won a couple of close games, but they've won 2 in a row. AFC North, you got Ravens at 3-2 after the close win over the Bengals. Bengals fall to 1-4. The Browns are 1-4. So it's Ravens and Steelers in that division. They're both 3-2. One after a win, one after a loss. And then AFC East, it's Bills in front, 3-2. The Jets are only a game back at 2-3, but they fired their coach today. Dolphins tied up with them at 2-3. At the bottom of the division, the New England Patriots, 1-4. Do we have, I think we do, maybe a minute or so before the music starts. Nope, we don't. Okay. Misread the clock. So if you're on the phone and can wait, just wait, and I'll come to you as soon as we come back. All right, and coming up, more texts, this time from Jason and Nick and Vic and PT and Grumpy and all y'all on the Country Pleasing text line. That's coming up. Plus, your comments on the live stream from Will and Debbie and Sven and all y'all. Just getting started on this Tuesday in the Bureau, the Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Stick around.
Today's game from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Time was their breakfasts were gloomy. They just didn't feel right, and they didn't know a delicious cereal could help their sad plight. So they tried this and tried that, but irregularity kept coming back all the same. For as often the case, lack of bulk in their diet was actually to blame. Once at the grocer's, the wife was so drooping and sagging that a neighbor said, "Get on Kellogg's All-Bran wagon. Why, All-Bran has a flavor that's scrumptious to eat. So rich and nut-like, makes breakfast a treat. And of course, Kellogg's All-Bran can help you each day to youthful regularity, the dietary way." "Well, it might do some good," said the wife with a sigh. "Guess I'll get some All-Bran and give it a try." Soon, breakfasts at her house were happy and bright, for delicious Kellogg's All-Bran set their day off right. Yes, All-Bran supplies all the bulk in your diet, you see, that you may need for youthful regularity. And no half-brand cereal possibly can provide this help as surely as Kellogg's All-Bran. A delicious, non-habit-forming aid to your diet. You're sure to like All-Bran. Just buy it and try it.
Get on the Kellogg's All-Bran wagon with the best bran in the land. The cereal, the taste bran, the cereal that's All-Bran. A breakfast treat that can't be beat. Be a regular guy and climb aboard the All-Bran wagon. Eat Kellogg's All-Bran.
What is the secret of this enchanted book? What wonders are hidden within its pages? What magical spell does it cast on all who read it? What is the secret of the never-ending story?
But that's impossible!
You will enter a world where a young boy's imagination becomes a vivid reality. The world of Atreyu and Artax, the Rockbiter, and a good and kind gnome. A world that is vast and eternal. treacherous and dazzling, unforgettable and free. For anyone who's ever made a wish, believed in a fantasy, or had a dream, this is the never-ending story.
It's a new thing, it's a fun thing, it's a swing wing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing, it's a wing wing. A brand new classic grand fun thing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing. A fun thing. And now it's your favorite store thing.
It's a what?
Mazda announces some great news for truck buyers. Right now, you can beat the already outstanding value of the $67.95 Mazda SE5. Introducing Mazda SE5 Plus 5. $625 worth of...
All right. Back with you. Sven on YouTube says, I read a comment today from a State fan that Georgia lost to Bama. Bama lost to Vandy, so we should beat Georgia. He says he calls this a 5-star dummy. Yeah, it does not work that way, does it? I mean, I know they lost to Bama, but Georgia's roster is loaded now, and they've got to be kicking themselves over the first half of that ball game because, you know, they would love to get another shot at Alabama, I'm sure. All right, over to the phone line, the Davini Equipment phone line. Davini Equipment in Madison and in Jackson, your Kubota dealer. It's Wayne on line one. What's up, Wayne? Thanks for calling.
Nothing much. Don't went over there absentee voted because I got that dang colonoscopy the day we vote. So, I still can't get over it. How Alabama had the ball 18 minutes, give or take a little bit.
I know it.
And that's just reason. I just don't understand it, but that's just football, you know.
I know it. It's one of those too, Wayne, where, you know, you watch a lot of games and that stat for time of possession doesn't mean anything. You should play it. And then that game is an example where it actually is very telling, the fact that Alabama's offense was only out there for 18 minutes, because in that 18 minutes they were actually pretty good. It's just Alabama's defense was, you know, and I said yesterday, the last time we saw an Alabama defense play like that was before Nick Saban ever got there. I don't know that they ever had a game under Nick Saban, ever. Maybe that first year where his defense played like that.
It's going to be interesting. Texas and Oklahoma. Texas beat them, I believe, but you don't ever know.
Yeah, no, you don't. That's right. You don't, especially those kind of games. You don't know. For sure.
I've got to see Dak didn't pull that one out the other night.
Yeah, boy, he ever more needed it, too. Well, I mean, the Cowboys needed it, but it seemed like Dak really needed that, too. He does a lot of those good things. Doesn't get credit for it.
Well, Jerry Jones, the son, said we may be getting all the bad out down and get all the kinks out. And at the end of the season, we'll be on the road.
Yeah.
That'd be a good game between them and the Bills.
Yeah. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see.
All right, man. Well, y'all have a great week.
You too, Wayne. Appreciate you being patient. Thanks for the call. So,
yes, sir. Bye-bye.
Wayne says he expects Texas to beat Oklahoma, but you never know. And I'm the same way. You never know, but I kind of expect him to. But Steve Sarkisian is saying that quarterback Quinn Ewers should be ready to start when they play Oklahoma in Dallas this Saturday. So Ewers is back. You know, so Derek Carr had the quote-unquote oblique injury last night, but that's what it's also what Quinn Ewers has been healing up from. Ewers suffered an oblique injury while throwing across his body and was replaced by Arch Manning in their win over UTSA. The Manning started 2 games. Louisiana Monroe and Mississippi State. So Ewers is going to be back. We'll see what kind of difference that makes, or, if it does. For me, whether Ewers or Manning plays, they ought to beat Oklahoma. But again, you never know. All right, over to the text line, the country pleasing text line. Jason out in Flagstaff, Arizona says, I hate you, Matt Wyatt. I saw the C Spire commercial, and it made me homesick. Right, because you know where that is, don't you? That's his old stomping grounds up there. He said that little creek in the outcroppings by the front gate is one of my favorite spots to look for critters. Man, it is a cool place right by the entrance there to Tishomingo State Park. And the bridge, which is way on back in there, but at the head of that trail. It's just a neat place. Nick texts the show, and he says, just imagine how good Chris Jones could be if he was as good as 𝐁𝐮𝐫𝐦 right now. Man, Nick, don't get me started. And everybody, it's fine to have strong opinions and be wrong about it. Like, what do you know? It's just a conversation about sports. I just remember back then trusting what my eyes were telling me. And that, just be reminded, that was during an era. And I was doing a different radio show back then, but that was during an era where Ole Miss fans in this state were so keyed up and on edge about everything. And, I don't know what you chalk it up to. I mean, Freeze was their coach at that time. They were so keyed up and on edge that I would get on the radio back then and say, look, I think Chris Jones maybe even has more upside than 𝐁𝐮𝐫𝐦. And they would shock and horror and laugh and point and call you names and private message you and say, have you been drinking? And like, how could you possibly? Yeah, I mean, that was all you had to do back then was suggest something like that. And there was a big portion of their fans that would get on social media and just absolutely pitchforks and torches on you and that sort of thing. It was crazy. And thankfully for us and them and everybody else, collectively, they've kind of just settled down, settled in and are having fun with it, as opposed to going berserk every time you suggested that maybe they didn't have the best player in the country at every position. It was crazy back then, man. And what's interesting is a lot of those fools on the internet back in, so now 10 years ago, and the fools on the internet and social media, they're just gone. They just like, poof, they're gone. I don't know where they are. But Chris has absolutely proven it to be true. St. Louis Vic texts the show. He said Archie was really funny interacting with Peyton and Eli last night. Said that after Peyton was born, Walter Payton called him and thanked him for naming Peyton after him, which Archie replied, but it's spelled differently, Walter. That's good. That's good. He said, I thought Paul Rudd was about to curse him out. He was so nervous. Yeah, he's a big Chiefs fan, right? I didn't see it. What is it about? I think I would enjoy watching that, but when the game is on, I always turn the game on. I haven't watched 1 minute of the Peyton and Eli thing during a game, but I've seen the clips afterwards and they're good, and your story about Archie being on there is good. Hey, it's too early to have this debate. It's too early. Maybe we just save it for a slow day in the summer next year. By the time Arch Manning gets done, is he going to be the best of the bunch? I mean, there you go. There's just cheap radio question, just throwing it out there. But I thought about that the other day. Hey, here's another reason why I thought about it. Okay, I promise I'm coming to your text. You can look up, I posted it. I searched college football on X, and some folks who I like their content, and I've seen a lot of their stuff over the years. They're from over in Birmingham. College football nerds popped up, and they do this deep statistical dive on kind of a PFF, Pro Football Focus type of thing. And they went with opponent adjusted yards per attempt quarterback rankings. So adjusting it according to opponents. And do you know who has the second most yards per attempt at quarterback this year and number one in the SEC when you adjust it? Arch Manning, quarterback, Texas. Third in the country, second in the SEC is Jalen Milroe. Fourth in the country, third in the SEC is Jackson Dart. Fifth in the country, fourth in the SEC is Diego Pavia, which 100% mirrors my top 5 quarterback rankings if I were to make it. You say, well, where's yours? Well, they followed that up with quarterback rankings for opponent adjusted QB rating is also fascinating. Number one in the SEC in opponent adjusted QB rating, number one in the SEC is Arch Manning. Now it's a super like dialed in, just cram it in like a puzzle piece stat, but adjusted opponent quarterback rating. Arch Manning's number one in the SEC and fourth in the country. 2 in the SEC, Jalen Milroe. 3 in the SEC is Ewers. 4th in the SEC is Diego Pavia. You know who is 5th on that list? He's in the top 20 in the country in opponent adjusted QB rating. Will Rogers, quarterback, Washington. Y'all can look that up for you. If you're a stats nerd, you'll really enjoy that. All right. Rolling along here, hour 1 on this Tuesday. More of your texts and your comments coming up in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Stick around.
Thursday, it's Cosby starting off a night of family fun. And leave it to Family Ties to keep the laughs coming.
Oh, no. What are we going to do? Everything's under control.
Then on Cheers, will Norm think on a friend to get a promotion?
Yeah, yes, Stum. Yes.
And the fun continues with Night Court. Thursday.
For over half a century, dairymen have tried to capture in cans the flavor of pure, fresh milk. And now Foremost has discovered the secret with an evaporated milk that's closest by far to fresh milk itself.
Kind of hard to believe, isn't it? An evaporated milk that doesn't have that old-fashioned evaporated milk taste. But it's true, and you can prove it. You know how most evaporated milks taste in coffee. The flavor goes flat. But try Foremost. You'll see it's white, the way milk ought to look, not drab tan like other brands. And when you taste it, well, if you're anything like me, you'll never even know it isn't pure, fresh cream. You try it and see. That's Foremost, the closest thing in cans to pure, fresh milk. Remember, your family gets the most from Foremost.
Coca-Cola, come on, girl, gotta share a Coke with you. Let the feeling through. You wanna live a little bit more. That's what the taste of Coke is for. Coke is like everybody wants a little life. Coca-Cola, Coke is like everybody wants.
Come on, Harry, come on. We're getting our picture taken.
Special moments. Times of your life you'll want to remember. In pictures.
Smile, Howard. Smile.
To help make those pictures look as good as they can, make sure Kodak paper is behind them. If you don't see these words, it isn't Kodak paper. Just look for this sign when you get your pictures. Kodak paper for a good look at the times of your life.
Gee, wasn't that fun?
Come and get it! Come and get it!
Stop the confusion. Stop the confusion. Everybody wants to get into the act with Kellogg's Variety Pack. Buster wants the cornflakes, Pop wants a pep. Mama loves the Raisin Bran, Mama is hip. Sister loves Rice Krispies, and there's Uncle Jack. He loves Kellogg's shredded wheat. Kellogg's makes it fun to eat. Breakfast with Variety Pack. Okay, folks, there's your favorite individual box of cereal, fresh from Kellogg's Variety Pack, untouched by human hands, except your own. That don't mean you gotta eat with 'em. Each individual box comes to your FOD, fresh on delivery from Battle Creek, right to your own dish. Yeah, everybody wants to get into the act with Kellogg's Variety Pack. Yes, sir, Kellogg's Variety Pack.
Here comes the one, the delicious one. Heinz is the big rich one. There's only one ketchup with this flavor pouring on. So thick, so rich, so second to none.
Only one ketchup stands for this kind of thickness with this kind of taste. Heinz.
Heinz is the big rich one.
I love the rich, whole wheat goodness of Kellogg's Mini Wheats. But the delicious frosted side makes the rich kid in me open wide.
The nutritious shredded wheat helps keep me on my toes. But the little ballerina in me thinks the taste steals the show.
Kellogg's Mini Wheats, wholesome shredded wheat for the adult in you, great taste for the kid in you. So they're delicious and nutritious.
The whole grain wheat really packs a crunch. But the delicious...
Live and worldwide at thezone1059.com.
All right, back with you in the Bureau. Yeah, when I was teeing that up, their adjusted, opponent adjusted quarterback numbers. One was yards per attempt and the other was QBR. And Arch Manning was the number one in the SEC at both of those, but Sven thought I was going to say Pavia, the kid at Vandy. And I may have looked at it wrong. I don't think I did, but I could have sworn I read that Pavia still to this point hasn't thrown. They have not hit 1,000 yards passing yet. Surely. Hold on. I got to look that up for just a second here. Surely that's not the case. How many games is he in? I guess it's possible if they've more or less run the ball and they played maybe one fewer game. Stats. SEC stats. Don't y'all love just sitting here and listening to me click stuff? Hey, by the way, okay, for the record again, the new SEC website stinks. It has from the day they built it. It just stinks. It doesn't work smoothly. All kind of quirks and bugs. How are you going to have a bad website if you're the Southeastern Conference? I don't get that. All right, here we go. Scrolling past all the team stats. Got to get to the individual stuff to be able to answer this question we're raising here. Good night. Okay. Total offense plays, yards, offensive TDs, rushing and rush yards, passing yards. Yeah, he's at 9. So through 5 games, Diego Pavia is at 973 passing yards, 1 yard fewer than Blake Shapen. How about that? Blake Shapen in 3 games and parts of a fourth Well, most of the fourth. Blake Shapen in 4 games went for 974 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Pavia in 5 games, exactly 1 yard fewer, 973 yards, 4 fewer attempts, 4 fewer completions, same number of touchdowns, 8, and no interceptions. Here's another one that surprises me that I would not have thought would have been the case. And, here we are on a Tuesday, and we've gotten into some stats, but here we go. It's just whatever. I'm not a big stats guy, but somehow I find myself into them right here. Is the fact that at this point in the season, Nico Iamaleava at Tennessee has, through 5 games, has only thrown 7 touchdown passes. Gosh, think about that. Iamaleava at Tennessee has only thrown 7 touchdown passes. Now, he's got a little over 1,000 yards passing, but he's at 210 a game, 7 TDs and 2 picks. Give you an example. Shapen and Diego have thrown more touchdown passes than Iamaleava at Tennessee. Peyton Thorne at Auburn has thrown more touchdown passes than Iamaleava at Tennessee. Milroe, Carson Beck, Nussmeier, Dart. You know that Nussmeier, according to this, Nussmeier leads SEC quarterbacks in touchdown passes. Not Dart, not Carson Beck, not Iamaleava. No, Garrett Nussmeier at LSU with 15 touchdown passes, averaging 330 a game. Dart has the most yards, by far, by the way. Jackson Dart has thrown for the most yards in the SEC by far at this point. 6 games as compared to 5 for Nussmeier, but Dart has thrown for over 2,000 yards. The next closest would be Nussmeier, who's a little over 1,600. So he's got 500 more yards passing, Dart does, than Nussmeier in one more game. Dart averages 350 passing a game, Nussmeier 330. Those are the only two in the SEC averaging over 300 passing yards per ball game. And I mean, again, Iamaleava at Tennessee, he is just barely inside the top 10 in the SEC in passing yards per ball game. What he averages, just right at 210 passing yards a game. I'm surprised by that. So I guess fair to say that, I mean, Tennessee is good. They are a very good football team. They could be there right at the end, winning the whole thing. Absolutely. But to this point, their offense just really has not quite taken off yet. Certainly not the way it did with Hendon Hooker. PT for MSU texted the show. He told us that the Buccaneers are already in New Orleans due to Hurricane Milton. I would think so, right? So they've gotten out of Tampa. They're just going to spend the whole week in New Orleans and get ready for the ball game this weekend, which will be a huge, huge game. Gosh, and that the hurricane that's going to come through there. What was it? I saw the thing on the news this morning where they were warning them, said if you want to live through this, you must leave. You must leave. If you stay, the guy goes, if you stay, you will die. Grumpy texts the show, country pleasing text line. He said, Matt, great show yesterday. Lots to unpack. But he says, today, Grumpy needs to let you and who? Andrea? Who's Andrea? He says, know that the Miami Hurricanes are still undefeated. He says, how about that? Grumpy knows the last 2 wins were close, but still undefeated. They are. And they posted a thing, like, again, you search college football out here on Twitter/X, lots of stuff comes up, including there was this post, and maybe it was by Miami that's talked about being, undefeated and one of a few that is. And several people commented and shared it and said, okay, yeah, if you want to see the most fraudulent undefeated team, here they are. But how can you say that? How can you say that anybody is fraudulently undefeated? Oh, Andre, I'm sorry. Predictive text got you there, Grumpy. It put Andrea, but you meant Andre. Yeah, they're undefeated. Now, that's the thing. I mean, you win the games. You don't have to win them by a bunch of points. You don't have to look great doing it. You just have to win them. And if you're in the Power Four, now that we live in a 12-team playoff, you just have to win the games, period. It doesn't even have to look good. And they're doing that. Coffee Norman texted the show and said, Matt, is it just me or is the NFL quarterback position in the offense adapted to the player they draft and what he can do more than ever before? He said that makes sense, but back in the day, if you couldn't just stand in the pocket and throw like shooting a rifle, you weren't an NFL quarterback. He said it seems an injustice to athletic quarterbacks who were cut back then who weren't the best passers. And then he says, you think Lamar Jackson plays quarterback in the era of the QB pocket passer or bust era from Coffee Norman? No. So what are we talking about there? Certainly 80s, 90s, right? Certainly those 2 decades for the most part. And in those 2 decades, the exceptions to the rule of the feet in concrete, big, tall, strong, stand in the pocket in concrete, deliver the ball from the pocket, hand it off, and run the line of scrimmage, which is what everybody was looking for. And it's why guys like me got recruited, because we didn't run around. We were big and tall and can take a hit and just stand in there and throw it all day. Well, the exceptions to the rule were Randall Cunningham with the Eagles in the 80s, 90s, Michael Vick, 90s. Trying to think that era in the NFL. Is that it? As far as the incredible athletes playing the position? And yeah, so in that era, would a guy like Lamar Jackson be playing quarterback? No, because he wouldn't have played quarterback in college back in that era for the most part. And they would have decided he couldn't do it because of what they were determined to run in the NFL, which was kind of a ubiquitous offense really across the whole league. Part of that thinking back then, it's not like they were rigid, Norman. I don't look at it that way in the 80s, 90s, in the quote unquote good old days of the NFL. It was that they had this idea that with free agency and trades and stuff, all these teams felt like, you're kind of better off. You have this system where you can easily adapt people to your system when they come in right away. And now it just really the college game, I think, is what changed the NFL versus the other way around. And it was all the athletes running zone read offenses that was so successful and so prevalent in college ball. And that's what was coming out of college. And more of them transitioned to the NFL. And in my opinion, have made it more fun. All right. Hour 1 in the books. Great question, Norman. Grumpy, Eric, Jason, Tall Dog, the rest of y'all on the Country Pleasing text line coming to you next when we start hour number 2 right around the corner. Don't go anywhere. Back after this.
Now's the time.
Today's game from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Time was their breakfasts were gloomy. They just didn't feel right, and they didn't know a delicious cereal could help their sad plight. So they tried this and tried that, but irregularity kept coming back all the same. For as often the case, lack of bulk in their diet was actually to blame. Once at the grocer's, the wife was so drooping and sagging that a neighbor said, "Get on Kellogg's All-Bran wagon. Why, All-Bran has a flavor that's scrumptious to eat. So rich and nut-like, makes breakfast a treat. And of course, Kellogg's All Brand can help you each day to youthful regularity, the dietary way. Well, it might do some good, said the wife with a sigh. Guess I'll get some All Brand and give it a try. Soon, breakfasts at her house were happy and bright, for delicious Kellogg's All Brand set their day off right. Yes, All Brand supplies all the bulk in your diet, you see, that you may need for youthful regularity. And no half-brand cereal possibly can provide this help as surely as Kellogg's All Brand. A delicious, non-habit-forming aid to your diet. You're sure to like All Brand. Just buy it and try it.
Get on the Kellogg's All Brand wagon with the best brand in the land. The cereal that tastes grand, the cereal that's All Brand, a breakfast treat that can't be beat. Be a regular guy and climb aboard the All Brand wagon. Eat Kellogg's All Brand.
What is the secret of this enchanted book? What wonders are hidden within its pages? What magical spell does it cast on all who read it? What is the secret of the never-ending story?
But that's impossible!
You will enter a world where a young boy's imagination becomes a vivid reality. The world of Atreyu and Artax, the Rockbiter, and a good and kind gnome. A world that is vast and eternal, treacherous and dazzling, unforgettable and free. For anyone who's ever made a wish, believed in a fantasy, or had a dream, this is the never-ending story.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing, it's a wing wing, a brand new transit grand fun thing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing, a fun thing. And now it's your favorite store thing.
It's a what?
Mazda announces some great news for truck buyers. Right now, you can beat the already outstanding value of the $67.95 Mazda SE5. Introducing Mazda SE5 Plus 5. $625 worth of extra features at no extra charge from Mazda. You get a bed liner, mud guards, sliding rear window, floor mats, and AM/FM stereo. That's a $625 value at no extra charge. But hurry, offer ends soon.
Have you ever wished for one product that would clean and shine almost everything in your house? Here it is, Clean and Shine. Like magic, Clean and Shine leaves a nice shine on fine wood furniture, so you don't need furniture polish. It cleans and shines mirrors, so you don't need glass cleaner for mirrors. It cleans and shines refrigerators, like this kitchen product. Even countertops, tile, and vinyl. Try new Clean and Shine, the foam that cleans and shines almost everything in your house.
Someday when people look at me, they'll say, there goes Roy Hobbs, the best there ever was.
TriStar Pictures presents Robert Redford in The Natural, the story of a father and a son.
You got a gift, Roy, but it's not enough.
Of love.
He means the world to me.
And desire.
I'm not waiting for true love to come along, Roy.
A champion.
Roy Hobbs comes along once, maybe twice in everybody's lifetime.
And his destiny.
With or without the records, they'll remember you.
Best there is now, and best there ever will be.
I wouldn't bet against me.
I already have.
Robert Redford, Robert Duvall, Glenn Close, Kim Basinger, Wilford Brimley, Barbara Hershey, Robert Prosky, and
1059.com.
All right, here we go. Hour number 2 of the show, off and running with you on this Tuesday. I'm Matt in the Bureau, the Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau all across the great state of Mississippi. Beaver's here. I'm here. Most importantly, though, you are here. We got a reason to be here if you're here. So I appreciate you tuning in, however you're listening and wherever you're listening. And you can be a part of it. Want to hear from you, as always. So comment, shoot me a text or give me a call, or hit us up there on the live stream. Drop a comment. Hail State fan said on YouTube, congrats to Fletcher Cox for being named the latest MSU legend. And said, wish he had some eligibility left. There, hey, he'd be the best lineman right now, wouldn't he? After how many years in the NFL? Let me guess. Hold on, I'm trying to guess. How many years was it for him? 11 or 12 for Fletcher Cox in the NFL. All with the Eagles, one team, won a Super Bowl, multiple Pro Bowl, all that stuff. And retired so he could go hunting and ride four-wheelers. And right now, I'm almost to the point I'd say with like maybe a week of doing some light calisthenics to get ready, he'd be the best defensive lineman the state has. That's really not going out on a limb, is it? Wish. We can wish in one hand, right? Talking about mobile quarterbacks back then, somebody brought up Tebow, but he wasn't really 80s, 90s. He came out of the spread era. And then RG3, kind of same thing, spread era, 2000s, went to the NFL. And you've seen more and more of that for sure. That was in regards to Coffee Norman's text. Hey, and speaking of Coffee Norman, I'm enjoying some hot coffee from High Point Roasters in New Albany, Mississippi. I just poured some in my cup from my thermos. My 12-year-old, 14 years old Stanley thermos, still going strong. The handle broke off. I tried to epoxy it back on there. I need to get some of that. What is it? Plumber's weld? Plumber's, you know what I'm talking about. Plumber's epoxy? Need to get some of that. That'd probably work better. But the handle's long gone, but it's still doing it. So that's back when Stanley was an actual thermos, not just a big old cup, multicolored and all that. I guess it's the same company. Campfire Blend. That's the type of coffee I'm drinking right now. The name of it's a blend. You can get it at highpointroasters.com. You get a great big 1 pound bag of it, so it'll last a while. It's called Campfire Blend. Tall Dog texted the show and said darts numbers included playing 4 cupcakes to start the season. Yeah, they did. Yeah, but his numbers are up there. Like I said, he leads the SEC, averaging 350 passing yards per game. Right behind him, 19 yards and some change less per game is Garrett Nussmeier of LSU. So those are the only 2 SEC quarterbacks that are averaging over 300 passing yards per ball game. Dart and Nussmeier. Dart's 350, Nussmeier 330 and change. Nussmeier's thrown more touchdown passes than anybody, though. He's thrown 15 TDs. Dart has thrown 13. Nussmeier with the 15 TDs has thrown 4 picks. Dart with the 13 TDs has thrown 2 picks. And how about Nussmeier, too? A good many more attempts. So if you're an Ole Miss fan, you get ready to play LSU, and whether you've watched them or not, you kind of think about Ole Miss's offense, the run-pass ratio, kind of the way that works. In one more ball game, Dart has 25 fewer passing attempts. And he's played one more ball game. So it kind of lets you know how pass-heavy LSU has been this year in their 5 games. 198 attempts in those 5 games is a lot. The only guys, other quarterbacks in the SEC that are close to Nussmeier's 198 pass attempts would be Taylon Green at Arkansas with 189 pass attempts, but he's also played an extra ball game too, more. So LSU in the games they've played have really put it in the air a lot. Yeah, the mobile quarterbacks, real Eric, he brought up Steve Young. Okay, so you go 80s, 90s. I'm trying to think about guys who are real runners, athletes that did get to play quarterback. They are few and far between, but you had Randall Cunningham, Vic, the most notable, and then, Steve Young was in there. He'd run around like crazy. He was a good athlete. But he, his deal was beat you from the pocket too. I mean, Charlie Boy mentioned Carmichael with the Eagles and Forcade. That's going way, way back. I don't remember them. I really don't remember either one of those, to be honest with you. Just being 100%. Okay, look, we got to get into a little bit of news here today, too, and just make sure that we are aware of some of the stories that are out there. We don't have to dwell on them all that long. Ahead of the game against State this Saturday, Georgia receiver Colby Young arrested early this morning, on misdemeanor charges of battery and assault of an unborn child. That's according to Athens Clarke County Jail records. So Colby Young, receiver, Georgia, from Binghamton, New York. They booked him in the detention center at 4:18 a.m. Now, he played 2 seasons at Miami before transferring to Georgia this December. Georgia spokesperson, we can't comment. It's a legal matter at this time. And according to Athens Clarke County Police incident report obtained by ESPN, a 20-year-old woman described herself as the football player's ex-girlfriend. She told police that she went to his apartment around midnight to talk about their relationship. When the conversation became heated, after she discovered that he was on the phone with another woman, the complainant said that Young, the football player, quote, grabbed her left arm near her triceps, and physically pulled her out of his room. Using derogatory terms, being demeaning. She said she went back in and locked the door. She told police she started getting her stuff together when a friend called her phone. And when she answered, she said, he came out, grabbed me from behind, said that he picked me up, began to squeeze my torso and abdomen, and said that she felt like he was trying to harm her. Now, the officer noted in the report he observed a bruise and discoloration on the bottom of her chest where it meets the abdomen, so kind of sternum. Redness on the side. Police officer transported the woman to a hospital for treatment. When the officer confronted it, talked to him about it, he said, it wasn't from me. I didn't do that. And so there you go. That's what details they have at ESPN. He's had 11 catches this year for 149 yards, 2 touchdowns in these first few games after transferring in from the University of Miami. Mentioned this to you in the first hour when Wayne called. He expects Texas to beat Oklahoma, but like he said, he's right. You never know. Steve Sarkisian expects quarterback Quinn Ewers to be ready to start when number 1 Texas plays number 18 Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry. Say it 5 times fast. This Saturday in Dallas. But Longhorns are going to continue to monitor it throughout the week. So conference games, so see the SEC, you got to do injury or availability reports. Monitor it during the week. Let Oklahoma think about it all week. Would feel pretty certain that if he can play, he will. And most likely, with where they are as a team, the fact that he got banged up against UTSA, they jerked him out of there, said there is no point in pushing this against Louisiana Monroe and Mississippi State. We'll let Arch Manning handle it, and rightfully so. And I guarantee you they said, let's just make sure you're healthy for Oklahoma. And so, to me anyway, it sounds like they're probably just right on track with what they've been planning, or what I would think with what they've been planning this whole time. Now, let me get you another story. Do you remember 3 weeks ago when we were all going on and on about, I was going on and on about how Hugh Freeze sort of had this unhealthy thing going on of blaming his quarterback, just totally throwing him under the bus. And they did have some turnovers and played poorly, but there's always responsibility lying with coaches and coaching staffs, even when their players don't play bad, because what is it all the great coaches always said? I think it maybe even originated with Bear Bryant. You know, if you say, well, I didn't coach him to do that. Well, if you're allowing it, you're coaching it. You see what I mean? There's always responsibility on the coach staff. And he had this weird thing of like, he'd talk about what a great game plan, how good a job they were doing, how they called perfect plays, and it was just all the quarterback's fault. It was a real cheap way to go about things from a head coach, that position, and at that kind of school. And the story came out that Peyton Thorne, the quarterback there at Auburn, had people messaging him, wanting him to Venmo. These people wanted him to Venmo them their money back that they lost gambling on the games that he was playing in there at Auburn. Well, you know how we live in an era now where there's a study for everything? No matter what there is, what issue it is, whatever, we get studies done on it. So now we've got a study that has been done on that. Abuse by angry sports bettors. It says is one of the most common types of harassment that college athletes receive, made up at least 12% of publicly posted social media abuse, according to a new analysis conducted on behalf of the NCAA. So here's some of the info on this thing. The NCAA apparently partnered up with this company that does these, does these stats. It's a data science company called Signify Group and Associates. No, it's just Signify Group. So they analyzed social media accounts for more than 3,000 college athletes. That's a pretty good sample size. They also did around 500 coaches. They did a monitor of their social media accounts. A couple of hundred referees and officials. And then also the social media accounts of 165 different teams. Okay, this was back in the spring, in the 2024 college football playoff. They also did the men's and women's basketball tournaments. They did the men's and women's College World Series, volleyball, and gymnastics championships. So multiple sports, 3,000 athletes, not all one sport, 500 coaches, 200 officials, refs, umps, and 165 different team accounts. And so they're up there close to 4,000 different college sports related social media accounts that they monitored and tracked on this thing. They are going to, the NCAA, by the way, is going to publish all of the findings on this study on this Thursday. But they put out a little, taste of it, little tease of it today. This study defined angry sports bettors as people who engage in problematic and intrusive communications due to match events and results contradicting their predictions, the bettors' predictions. Got it? Went against the way they bet it. Athletes received abusive messages before, after, and during games. The survey listed sexual abuse, racism, homophobia as among other common harassment categories. The analyst for this company that did this stuff found some abusive posts that did not overtly mention gambling still had ties to betting. So, in other words, the biggest issue they found, to sum it all up, this study, this group that did this thing, all these social media accounts, different sports back in the spring, come up with all the comments and abuse they get. The majority of it was linked to fans betting on the games, gambling, losing money on the games, and being angry and lashing out at players, officials, coaches, and teams on social media. And to that, you would say what? Sarcastically, surprise, surprise, surprise? Yeah, because no one is surprised. You know, there's a little bit of me that's almost cynical to the point of, okay, you needed a study to tell you that most of the asinine comments you get of fans attacking players and coaches on social media has some sort of something, most of it, not all of it, but most of it has something to do with the fact that they gambled, they lost some money, and they mad about it. And we're going to blame somebody else. Like, it's almost like you, and I know this is earth-shattering stuff. You ready? But it's almost like someone with a mindset of, I'm going to get rich quick betting my money that I earned in my bank account on sports. I'm going to have a reasonable expectation. This is going to benefit me. That you're telling me that mindset would then be the same mind that wouldn't blame themselves for betting their own money on sports? Nobody put a gun to their head and made them do it. They chose to do it. But wouldn't blame themselves and take any responsibility for it. No, I'm going to lash out at the athlete and the coach and the official online. You're telling me? Yeah. I know you're shocked. All right. Over to the phone line, the Divini Equipment phone line. Divini Equipment, Madison and in Jackson. Jason in Flagstaff, Arizona. What's up, Jason?
Nothing much. I was calling about something else, but you reckon they can study, and find out whether it's the people that do stupid stuff the most, or also the people that, I don't know, drink just a tiny bit too much?
We need a study, Jason, to show that fights at sporting events is directly, most of the time, linked to alcohol. We need a study for that, don't we?
Yeah, and I tell you what, I can just about imagine that the people that cause the most wrecks are the ones that drive like morons.
Yeah, right. Yep. Need a study for that, too.
Yeah, I tell you what, they better get on it. I called because you got kind of a lecture yesterday, you and John Bond, about bullying Will Rogers.
We did.
Haters.
Yeah, we got lectured.
And I wanted to call and tell Beaver that when I put something in a text like simpletons, I am absolutely trying to bully them because they deserve it. And they deserve it. You can ask Beaver. He will verify this. They won't text your show, but they will text Jake's and call all of us who support Will Rogers morons, idiots. And one guy, I'm almost certain to quote him, said the only people that think Will Rogers is underrated is Jason and Flagstaff. And what did he say? Oh, thinking is not my strong suit. So they won't text that stuff to your show about Will Rogers.
So they're anymore. Cowards.
They'll text it to Jake's in the afternoon, though.
So Hey, is it bullying? Is it bullying if I say that is cowardly behavior? Is that if I
don't
call
know
him a
now.
coward?
You have to clear that with Beaver. I don't know. But
All right, I'll ask Beaver. Beav, is it bullying if I think they are cowards and I call them that? I mean, maybe. I don't know.
I got to get off here and pick up my son. So
Attaboy.
y'all have a good one.
All right, Jason.
Take it easy.
At least Jason's a good sport about it. He got called somebody who doesn't do a whole lot of thinking. What was this earlier? Okay, so this is at a different school in a different offense. And the quarterback rankings for QB rating that is opponent adjusted so that you can have a statistical algorithm kind of take into account the difference in schedules and stuff, especially this early in the year. So it's just a stat. Take it for what it's worth. Whatever. It's just a stat. But Will Rogers is 18th in the country. QB rating, opponent adjusted. And yards per attempt, opponent adjusted. He's also in the top 20 in the entire country. I bet he would be up there in yards per completion too. He's somewhere around 12 or 13 or whatever that is. So, yeah, it's really opinions are good and disagreements are good, and we don't have to agree on everything. It's just in this case, I'm right and they're wrong, and they've been wrong since the get-go. And the reason is they don't really have they're not understanding offensive, defensive football and how it affects what people do. And that's just the way it is. All right, rolling along with you. Stick around.
C-Spire team member Jerry here, and today I'm talking to Carl. Sometimes I hardly get. You see, Carl.
I was born and raised in Greenville. I've always called Greenville home. This is where I, was raised, went to high school, graduated high school, worked all my life here, leading up to going to college. So even when I moved from Greenville, I always told people, they asked me where you're from, I always said I'm from Greenville. I have mother, father, brother, niece, aunt, all live here in Greenville. So this is home. This is where I, live, and I've just always called it home. Small town, I feel like I could walk in any place tomorrow and know 2 to 3 people in there. It's small town. Someone's on the side of the road broken down. Hey, you need a boost, flat tire, you need help changing it. That's just kind of, what I love about this area. The blues and the food and everything that comes along with the Mississippi Delta that I love. I tell people all the time, my business cards have my cell phone number on them for a reason. Insurance doesn't happen from 8 to 5. When you need me, it's going to be after 5. It hardly ever happens where you have a wreck, get pulled over, need an insurance card, wind blows, shingles off your roof. All these things happen, and it's typically after 5. And so the ability for someone to call me, get in contact with me, text me, ask me a question, and that's what it's about to me, is helping the people that we serve, is taking care of people, and them knowing that they can count on me whenever they need me. I am Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
Y'all have heard me talk about Murray West and MurrayWest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. When I say they do quality stuff, they really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, murraywest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough.
On 105.9 and worldwide at thezone1059.com.
Excuse me. Back with you. That's one of those where it's one of those where you clear your throat, you didn't realize the mic was on. Yeah. All right, let's see here. Why not? Look, if somebody goes, okay, why would 2 days in a row, with everything else going on in the football world, why 2 days in a row would Matt get into looking at what Will Rogers is doing at Washington? Okay, well, one, if I have to explain it, it probably means I probably shouldn't do it. But one was, yesterday was Monday, Reaction Monday, okay? And Michigan, 10th in the country, defending champs, and they're not as good as they were a year ago, but they were ranked 10th. They're pretty good, Michigan, whatever. Went to Washington, and Rogers and them beat them late Saturday night. And I turned on the game to watch it, and I noticed that he started off hot as a firecracker, and he had 2 early touchdown passes, was lighting Michigan up, slicing them up. And at that point, they said, okay, he's the only guy in the country with 10-plus touchdowns and no interceptions. And he wound up throwing his first later in the game. I thought that was pretty impressive. And so when it came up yesterday, we go down that road again, and Beaver did bring up the idea that maybe I was bullying people for being dumb about football. And maybe I was. And you need to, if you're somebody like me who can be a know-it-all sometimes, you need to hear that. You need somebody who will tell you that, right? You don't need a bunch of yes people around. You need somebody to say, hey, at least make you consider, because you don't want to be a bully. All right. But today, Jason called in. I referenced it earlier. It was about Arch Manning and others and these adjusted opponent quarterback stats that the guys over at College Football Nerds do in Birmingham. They do a heck of a job. I find that stuff interesting every now and then once you can get a little bit of a sample size. But selfishly, the reason I liked their opponent adjusted quarterback stats is it supported an idea that I threw out there after watching Arch Manning play. And I know it was against State's defense, who'd been bad all year, but State's defense played better, and he made some unbelievable plays that I thought Texas may have the 2 best quarterbacks in the SEC in Ewers and Manning right now. Well, their stats sort of backed that up. And so I brought it up. Well, Rogers was on it, mentioned, hey, again, for the haters, for the critics, in terms of in the country, he's way up there in the top 20 in those things, even opponent adjusted. Big Ten football. So now Will Rogers from Brandon is in a new conference, on a new team, running a new offense. He's under center. It's pro style. Okay, different offense. Will Rogers is second in the Big Ten in passing yards behind the kid at Indiana, who's having a heck of a year, Curtis Rourke. He has Okay, second most yards. He has thrown the second most touchdowns. That kid at Indiana has 14. Rogers has 12. But among all the starting quarterbacks in the Big Ten, he's thrown the fewest interceptions with one. That was against Michigan the other day. He has the second highest quarterback rating in the Big Ten. I see yards per attempt, but I don't see yards per completion. He's averaging the 5th most passing yards per game at 270. And they do run it a pretty good bit, which helps him. His completion percentage, I mentioned that. That's third best in the Big Ten. Excuse me. He does not have the most passing attempts among quarterbacks in the Big Ten. That would be Moss at Southern Cal. Yeah. Now, third most passing yards in the Big Ten right now is Dylan Gabriel at Oregon, but he's only played 5 games. Rogers and Rourke at Indiana have played 6. So Gabriel is having a heck of a year, but he's pushing 80% completion, but he's thrown more interceptions. He's thrown fewer touchdowns. Yards, he's a couple hundred yards behind Rogers. So basically one game, according to his average per game, one game would put him right there with him. But anyway, you're talking about Will Rogers, first year, new place, new coach, running a pro-style offense. A kid who all these geniuses around here said the only way he's successful is it's air raid. The only passes he can complete are underneath stuff. It doesn't have arm strength to throw it down the field. And he's going and playing in a pro-style offense in the Big Ten. And no, they're not seeing SEC defenses yet, but we'll see at the end of the year just how good all these SEC defenses are. I'm not so sure that Ole Miss doesn't have the best one when it's all said and done. But he's doing it. And not just doing it, he's really thriving up there right now, throwing the football. So, it's almost beating a dead horse at this point. Like Beaver said yesterday, it's almost beating a dead horse, and to the point of almost bordering on bullying, to gather up all these idiots who continue to believe the earth is flat and that we didn't land on the moon and that Bigfoot does exist and that Will Rogers doesn't have arm strength and could only play in the air raid, because that's that group. That's who they are. And then Jason told me they won't text and communicate on this show when it comes up. They run off to somebody else's show like scared little weasels and go ratting on us on some other show. And, that's cowardly. But, hey, it's fun. All right. Country Pleasing text line says, people that bet at Beyond Sports are looking for money without actually doing anything. And it's lazy. That's one way to look at it. I mean, think about this, y'all. I just read you a story. Now let me sum it up for you. Okay? I just read you a story. Came straight off of ESPN.com. And this is the summary. Are you ready? The NCAA needed a study done to tell them that most of the harassment that's being done of players and coaches on social media is by people who lost money gambling. They paid someone to do a study on that. Paid them actual money. The NCAA needed that. And like Jason said, the next thing you're going to tell me is that they need a study. They're going to pay somebody to complete a study that a majority of the fights and the violence that does happen, even though it's not rampant, but the fights and the violence that does happen at college football games involves alcohol. We're going to do a study of that. Pay somebody, pay me to do it. I can do it today. I'll finish it this afternoon. Don in Madison texts the show and says, Matt, I agree. Fletcher Cox could start for state now, even if he's not in shape. Does he still have a COVID year left? No, he doesn't. And I guess he played too long ago in order to get any of this money they're about to give back out of it. His cut of the $2.5 billion in, what is it? The rev share money, the back pay? I think you had to have played from 2016 until now. So he missed out on that too. He was in the NFL making millions, so he's okay. I wish they'd push that back to about 98, but they're not going to do that. They can't afford that. We'd break them. St. Louis Vic texts the show. He says, Matt, now that Aaron Donald has gone, does Chris Jones move to number one defensive lineman doing what he's doing right now? Absolutely. Absolutely he does. Chris Jones, number one. Absolutely. You know, and what's weird about it, Vic, think about this. Sometimes a guy like Chris, it's like they need to go win the Super Bowl again for a third straight year for some people to believe that they should give him the Defensive Player of the Year. Player of the Year, team accomplishment. But see, they'll connect those two things together. It's funny because it's hard to look at it any other way because football's such a team game. Unnamed texter text the show says, Matt, don't forget about another Mississippi quarterback, Luke Altmaier, having a great year in the Big Ten also. Pretty weird that two of the better quarterbacks in the Big Ten are from Mississippi, isn't it? Yeah, Luke Altmaier through 5 games, 70% completions, a little over 1,000 yards. He's got 11 touchdowns and 1 pick. That's right up there with Rodgers. Rodgers got 12 and 1. A little more than 200 yards a game. He's having a great year. Good for him. Bulldog Blitz texted the show and said, I think most people's gripe with Rodgers is his lack of mobility. He's good when he can stand upright in the pocket. Jason in Flagstaff says, but Will Rogers stinks, quoting the Simpletons. And then he says, right after he threw that interception, by the way, he uncorked a 50-yard pass that led to the DB tackling the wide receiver to avoid a TD. Yeah, penalty pretty well in the game. That's right. And, you know, I saw that. The DB for Michigan did tackle the receiver instead of giving up the touchdown pass. And in that situation, Jason, it was the right thing to do. You'd much rather give 15 yards and a penalty and a first down than to let him catch it and walk in the end zone. So the DB actually did what he should have done, I think. It was a smart penalty. Otherwise, it was a walk-in score. All right. A little bit of time left with you when we come back. Stick around.
Thursday, it's Cosby starting off a night of family fun. And leave it to Family Ties to keep the laughs coming.
Oh, no. What are we going to do? Everything's under control.
Then on Cheers, will Norm fink on a friend to get a promotion?
Yeah, yes, yes.
And the fun continues with Night Court, Thursday.
For over half a century, dairymen have tried to capture in cans the flavor of pure, fresh milk. And now Foremost has discovered the secret with an evaporated milk that's closest by far to fresh milk itself.
Kind of hard to believe, isn't it? An evaporated milk that doesn't have that old-fashioned evaporated milk taste. But it's true, and you can prove it. You know how most evaporated milks taste in coffee. The flavor goes flat. But try Foremost. You'll see it's white, the way milk ought to look, not drab tan like other brands. And when you taste it, well, if you're anything like me, you'll never even know it isn't pure, fresh cream. You try it and see. That's Foremost, the closest thing in cans to pure, fresh milk. Remember, your family gets the most from Foremost.
Coca-Cola, come on, girl. Gotta share a Coke with you. Let the feeling show through. You wanna live a little bit more. That's what the taste of Coke is for. Coke adds life. Everybody wants a little life. Coca-Cola, Coke adds life. Everybody wants.
Come on, Adam, come on. We're getting our picture taken.
Special moments. Times of your life you'll want to remember. In pictures.
Smile, Howard. Smile.
To help make those pictures look as good as they can, make sure Kodak paper is behind them. If you don't see these words, it isn't Kodak paper. Just look for this sign when you get your pictures. Kodak paper, for a good look at the times of your life.
Gee, wasn't that fun?
Come and get it. Come and
Stop the confusion. Stop the confusion. Everybody wants to get into the act with Kellogg's Variety Pack. Buster wants the cornflakes. Pop wants a pep. Mama loves the Raisin Bran. Mama is hip. Sister loves Rice Krispies. And there's Uncle Jack. He loves Kellogg's shredded wheat. Kellogg's makes it fun to eat. Breakfast with Variety Pack. Okay, folks, there's your favorite individual box of cereal. Fresh from Kellogg's Variety Pack. Untouched by human hands, except your own. That don't mean you gotta eat with 'em. Each individual box comes to your FOD, fresh on delivery from Battle Creek, right to your own dish. Yeah, everybody wants to get into the act with Kellogg's Variety Pack. Yes, sir, Kellogg's Variety Pack.
Here comes the one, the delicious one. Heinz is the big rich one. There's only one ketchup with this flavor pouring on. So thick, so rich, so second to none.
Only one ketchup stands for this kind of thickness with this kind of taste. Heinz.
Heinz is the big rich one.
I love the rich, whole wheat goodness of Kellogg's Mini Wheats. But the delicious frosted side makes the rich kid in me open wide.
The nutritious shredded wheat helps keep me on my toes. But the little ballerina in me thinks the taste steals the show.
Kellogg's Mini Wheats, wholesome shredded wheat for the adult in you, great taste for the kid in you. So they're delicious and nutritious.
At The Zone 1059 and coming to you worldwide at thezone1059.com.
All right, back with you. I'm Matt in the Bureau. Hunter on YouTube says, Matt, what do you think about a mobile quarterback versus Georgia? So the Saban smart defense has always had problems with a mobile quarterback. I believe Michael Van Buren can have a good game. Well, he's pretty mobile. I mean, he's a good athlete. You know, it's like you play some of those better defenses that are loaded down with future NFL guys. Sometimes it gets harder on those mobile quarterbacks, and I'm not downplaying the idea. I do think, you know, you play a team like that, you play defenses like that. If you have the ability to get away from trouble, because they're going to put you in trouble some in the backfield, right? If you have the ability to force them to have to defend the fact you may run it, that helps some other guys, you know. But the other side of the coin is it's more difficult because they are better than a lot of the other teams you play. But I think he could have a good game, and he is mobile. He's a really good athlete. He just has that, to me, that look about him, man. He handles himself. Van Buren does not handle himself, or at least to this point, hasn't handled himself like a freshman. He just seems a little more veteran than that. Sven commented to him and said, Hunter, we will not win, but what I saw against Texas was a good effort, a way better defense. We'll get there, but we have to be patient for at least 2 seasons. That's from Sven. So he thinks it's going to be a long haul. Will says, Matt, did we talk about Ole Miss adding Washington State to their 2025 schedule? So this is to take place of Wake Forest after the Demon Deacons cancel the game. We didn't mention it. I think I did see a blip about that, but that's pretty cool. It'll be a long trip for the Cougars. A long trip. Kenny, don't call me Ken on the Country Pleasing text line said, I liked Will, talking about Will Rogers. It seemed like his inability to scramble out of the backfield was his main drawback at State. Jason, in response to Blitz, said, who in the blue as a quarterback isn't better when they're able to stand there in the pocket? That's the entire point of the quote-unquote pocket. He says, by the way, off topic, but did we ever get a fall break from school with like a week of 3 half days, 2 off? He says, I'm quite jealous of my son at the moment. We never got a fall break. No such thing. It was spring break, and you knew it, and everybody knew it. There was Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then spring break. You never got a fall break. Why are they getting a fall break, Jason? Did we start later than they do or something? I don't know the point of that. I don't know either. Okay, Jason changed the subject. I'm changing it now too. I got something that's really important I need to go over with Beaver. Hey, B! I think I caught him napping. Hold on. Let's see if I can get him. Let me try the other one. Hold on.
All right, here I am, Matt. Here I am after being... You know who the culprit was.
I do know who it was. I know who it is every time.
Who?
Bill or Jake. It's one of those two.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that because they were both in here during that entire last segment leading up to it, and they left, and then the phone rang, and the culprit, therefore, was more Bully.
Is he on the line right now?
He is indeed.
All right, put him through. More Bully. Sometimes Beaver's working like we're doing a show here. He can't just have a 5-minute conversation on the phone with you. You know, you like get in, get out, move on. You know what I'm saying?
Matt. When we're talking about food and recipes, he's gonna hold on until I finish.
Hey, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you like sweet potatoes?
Heck yeah.
Okay. Have you ever heard of a type of sweet potato called Evangeline or Evangelina sweet potato?
Of course.
Okay, you have.
Yeah.
You ever had one?
Well, I have not eaten one.
Okay.
I've given plenty out in my life.
Okay. Well, I have a friend who flies crop dusters over in the Delta. Well, I take that back. He's really not in the Delta. He's in Vardaman. So that's not the Delta. But he flies but he flies crop dusters. And he grew them himself, 2 boxes of the biggest, prettiest Evangelina sweet potatoes you've ever seen. And he told me, he said, listen, I'm telling you, these right here are the best tasting you've ever. They're much better. I gave a few away to like some friends at church and my neighbor, and they all texted me and said, hey, he's not lying. They're light, they're fluffy, they taste better. These are great. So anyway,
well, let me give you want a little sweet potato trivia?
Yes.
You know, when people come to Mississippi from, say, pick a northern state, Ohio, let's just go with that.
Okay.
And they come down here and they eat a sweet potato. And what do they say? Best sweet potato ever eaten in my life. My sweet potatoes don't taste like that. How do y'all get them so sweet? Well, Matt, here's the secret. Mississippi, we receive and eat this year's sweet potato.
Yes.
The sweet potatoes that are shipped all over the country are last year's sweet potatoes.
That's right.
So that's why our potatoes are so good.
Yep. We're eating them a little.
That?
How about that? And we're eating them a little more fresh. And I was learning recently too about like the different varieties, and some are more suited for, like, you wash them off and you can freeze them and they keep longer. And then there are others that you don't want to wash them. You just wash them off right before you eat them. You know, It's pretty fascinating, actually.
They're finicky. They're real finicky.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, listen, I do have a sports question for you.
Okay.
And I don't really know why this came up, but I was just sitting here thinking, what is the deal with Will Rogers and Gardner Minshew? Like, I guess being typecast, if you will.
Yeah.
And not getting, I think, the credibility they deserve on being good quarterbacks.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it a stigma? I mean,
yeah.
Are people scared of them, or what?
That's a really good question.
I'm very fascinated by that.
Okay, and I'm not answering this definitively, but I wonder if it's along the lines of the following. Okay, one, they were both air raid guys. Okay, and air raid guys who put up huge numbers under like the true air raid and Mike Leach never did take off in the NFL. Graham Harrell, Kingsbury, you know what I'm saying? Like those guys.
Right.
So maybe there's that stigma. And I think also sometimes, like especially in the South, but really all of big time football, we've all our lives been trained with, I backfield, tight ends, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. The defense puts 7 in the box. They run a 4-3 or a 3-4. They play a lot of man-free coverage. They're around the line of scrimmage. They blitz you on third down and stuff like that. And when you watched those quarterbacks play in air raid stuff, and Will played in it in high school, defenses just simply cannot do those kinds of things. That's what made that air raid system so different. It's like somebody said, it's like the wishbone, but throwing it. And so when people watched it, they didn't know what they were looking at. It's just hard to understand what I'm watching. It doesn't look like all the rest of it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I haven't always wanted that. It just came to my mind.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I guess because Will had such a great game this past weekend. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway. All right, brother. Good to talk to you.
You too, man. Good to talk to you as well. Hey, now can I talk to Beaver? More Bully? Do you mind, More Bully, if I have Beaver's attention now? Hey, Beav.
Hey, Matt White.
Before we ran out of time, I wanted to let you know today is a very important day, I think. And this actually is food related, so this is sort of a nice little segue. Beaver, it is National Fluffernutter Day.
Is that Fluffernutter? Is that one of the basically a Nutty Buddy?
It says, hold on, Snowflake Marshmallow Cream. They published a recipe for a peanut butter and marshmallow cream sandwich. The earliest known example of the Fluffernutter. I saw this. I'd never heard of it. I'm impressed that you'd at least heard of it.
Yeah, I've heard Fluffernutter.
Okay.
I thought it was one of the, because Nutty Buddies, some people call it Nutty Buddies, some people call it Nutty Bars, some people call it.
Maybe that's what.
That's why I thought it could be Fluffernutter.
Yeah, well, maybe that's where it comes from. It said layering the creamy goodness of marshmallow cream and peanut butter between toasted bread. They even make some with bacon. Y'all need to look this up. Fluffernutter. They said that Elvis used to eat them. Well, then how come I never heard of it? Anyhow, the more you know. For Beaver, I'm Matt. All of us here on the show in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. See you tomorrow. Same time, same place. See you then. Have a Fluffernutter from me. Careful. See ya.